Well, happy Thursday, everyone. Welcome to the AFC Virtual Travel Show. My name is Will Reece, and I'll be your host for this journey into our neighbors to the north and more than 5 different itineraries that we have to offer to visit Canada. And these trips cover quite a range of destinations from Nova Scotia to British Columbia and everything in between. So, from the French to the British sides and coast to coast. Actually, Canada's coastline is the longest in the world. And it's a great time to visit Canada, eh? The exchange rate's low at 71 cents to the US dollar, meaning you can shop much more. And I always love bringing back some of those great Canadian goods like maple syrup, wine from the Okanagan, and some of the specialties like Tim Hortons. Whether it's coffee or donuts, it's always a good stop. But let's get started into who we are and what AFC offers in our programs. So we offer worldwide tours and cruises, all different travel styles, whether it's a land tour by motor coach in our national parks within the US, as well into Canada. Overseas, we also offer our European river cruise charters, and those are filling up fast. Only a couple of different departures left for the year. And then our train tours that do both within the United States, around the national parks, as well. We have a couple of train trips over in Europe. Now, our most popular are our Unpack Once tours, where you get to unpack your suitcase and settle in for your entire stay. And that makes travel much, much more simple. But what's included with an AFC tour? First and foremost, you'll see the price for round-trip airfare in our brochure from the main gateways that we have travelers coming from. But if you do have friends or family members that come from other parts of the country and want to join you on a trip, we can always incorporate them and help with their airfare. We have a wonderful team of tour managers. I just connected with several of those tour managers today, including Deb Howard. She says hello. And then a outstanding guarantee program. And we have a couple of guarantees I always bring up. One is our guaranteed departures. And what that means is once a tour reaches a certain number in order to operate, we change it to a guaranteed status. And you'll see the symbol GD on the brochure as well as through the show today. And that means that trip is good enough to go out the door. It's ready to go, so you know it's not likely to get canceled. Our guaranteed pricing means that once you put your deposit down on a tour, your price is locked in. So even as vendors send us extra costs and additional surcharges throughout the year, that doesn't get passed on to you. So that's what you can expect with us. Honest prices as well as inclusive sightseeing and more. And then with our tours, we also include all of our breakfasts, a welcome and farewell dinner, and then usually a couple of meals in between depending on the destination. So very inclusive experience, great hotel locations, as well some wonderful sightseeing. One of the reasons why people book with AFC is because we do offer this great home pickup airport service. So we pick you up at your door, take you to the airport, and bring you back at the end. And it makes traveling so much simpler. You don't need to worry about what to do with your car, where to park it, and so much more. What time to be at the airport. All of those pieces are handled for you and simplified down. So it's a great service. We also provide a home pickup credit of $100 per person if you choose to make your own way to the airport, whether you use Uber or Lyft, or if you share a ride with friends and family, $100 off your final payment if you choose to make your own way to the airport. What the company really stands for is real people and real service. And we've been providing that real service since 1982. So over 43 years in the travel industry. We were just out on the road, myself, Matt Kennel, our president, as well as Joe, who's in our office handling a lot of your calls. And we were out in Croatia getting to explore. Joe's been with the company over 27 years, and I know many of our staff has been as well. So we have a team with over 140 years combined experience in the travel industry. And it's just an amazing opportunity to work with people that really know what they're doing. Now, we also offer a risk-free deposit in 2025. And what that means is any cancellations prior to final payment at 90 days, there's no loss to you. You'll get a future travel credit for any cancellation fee with deposit or travel protection. And so it's a really great time to book with AFC to protect your deposits, and you get that returned if you did have to cancel for any reason there. Our Travelers Club is a loyalty program that we offer. So if you book a 2025 tour or European river cruise, you're automatically enrolled to receive a $100 loyalty credit off your next trip with us. And that each trip thereafter applies within 18 months. So it's a $100 reduction for each trip after your first, as long as that's within that 18-month window of booking. Now, we are a company that started by word of mouth. People told their friends, their family members about us, and the word spread. So now we have travelers from coast to coast, from San Diego to Washington, D.C., and everywhere in between. So if you travel with us and tell your friends and family members about our tours, and they travel with us, your next tour is $100 off. Make sure they mention your name when they do book. And again, that credit of refer a friend for $100 off your next trip is a great value to you. We also provide early booking savings. And what that means is if you're within the first 40 travelers to book on a tour, you automatically save money. So that up to $100 off on domestic and international trips if you're within the first 20 to book, and then up to $75 off if you're the 21st through 40th. Now, that increases as well with our European river cruises. It is up to $200 off per person if you book early. And so you would just pay your final payment by check. You can pay your deposit any way you'd like, but it does pay to book early. Now, getting into some of our wonderful programs up into the north, into our neighbors in Canada. The Great Canadian Cities in Niagara Falls is a tour that highlights the incredible eastern Canadian provinces of Ontario and Quebec. And we visit cities like Toronto, Ottawa, Quebec City, and Montreal. Now, on this trip, you'll fly into Montreal and start the trip and enjoy a city tour of this multicultural and multilingual and historic city. You'll take in sights like the Notre Dame Cathedral, Jacques Cartier Square, and views from Mount Royal, where the city got its name. We'll enjoy a ride on the Via Rail, this beautiful train ride which has great scenic stretches up to Quebec City from Montreal. And that takes approximately 2.5 to 3 hours as a ride. This incredible destination of Quebec City brings you a taste of France without ever leaving North America. And as a UNESCO World Heritage Site, Quebec City is over 400 years old, and we visit Old Quebec. Its bistros and boutiques make for a really amazing visit. And you'll get a chance to see the Chateau Frontenac, the Citadel, the Plains of Abraham as well. And that's where a famous battle took place in 1759. So really rich history there. And after a 2-night stay, it's off to another wonderful city in Ottawa. Now, Ottawa has been influenced by many cultures, including the Irish, Scottish, French, and English. The word Ottawa means to trade. And this has been a main trading point since the 1600s. Now, within the city are the Parliament buildings, Supreme Court, War Memorial, and Byward Market. And you'll see these along with the Rideau Canal on our city tour. Now, an excellent trip that we get to enjoy as part of this trip is going out on the 1,000 Islands cruise. And there are over 1,800 islands straddling the U.S. and Canadian border, some large and some very, very small. Now, to be considered an island, it has to stay above water 365 days a year and support a living tree. So from there, we continue down into Toronto and spend one night in the Toronto area. We take in sights the next morning, sights and sounds of this metropolitan. And this includes a visit to the CN Tower, which sits over 1,800 feet high. It has 1,776 steps, but more importantly, has 11 elevators. And then we depart from Toronto for Niagara Falls, and we get to see Niagara on the lake for a 2-night stay at Niagara. That's where we use the Marriott or Sheraton hotels, and our city tour takes you to the largest floral clock in the world, as well as the Horticultural Center. We use a cruise near the falls and finish this outstanding trip with a farewell dinner at the Skylon Tower. So a couple of quick images here. This is the Notre Dame Cathedral in Montreal. It's a beautiful cathedral that we'll get to see as part of our city tour. From there, the beautiful Frontenac, amazing site within Quebec City. And then the 1,000 Islands cruise. And as you can see here, some amazing buildings and architecture throughout the islands. There's some islands as small as just one house, even smaller in some cases. But you can see this little bridge off to the right connecting to this amazing looking castle. So it's a really beautiful scene as we cruise through the islands. And then here is Skyline Tower looking down over Niagara Falls. So we get to enjoy our last night exploring the falls there from above. So this one departs June 18th, August 6th, and our September 17th departure is already guaranteed. Now, our Canadian Rockies and Glacier National Park is one of our most popular trips, and you can see that with the different dates listed above. We've already sold out 3 different dates, July, August, and September, but we do have June 11th, September 3rd, both have limited space left, and September 17th. So really great opportunity to get up into our neighbors and also visit Glacier National Park, which is a beautiful, stunning stretch. On this tour, some of the unique aspects are that we do spend one night in Calgary on arrival. We'll get to do a bit of the city there, seeing parts of Calgary, again, home to the Olympics in the 80s. And then we head south. We'll work our way down to Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump. And this is an incredible area dated to the time where the Native Americans would hunt buffalo over these cliffs. And we'll go into more of that. We then head down into Glacier National Park. And that's where we spend one night. And we take the 1930s jammer cars along the Going to the Sun Highway. So it's a spectacular scene with lakes and mountains all around us. And then as we work our way through the park, we'll also continue out to Whitefish or Kalispell for a night. We continue back north, heading into Banff for 3 nights. And that's where we get to see Kootenay National Park, as well as Lake Louise. And from there, Waterton Lakes. This is a spectacular national park. We spend time in the Banff area and get a tour of the area as well. And we use some really well centrally located hotels in Banff. So right along the street with many of the shops for most of our hotel properties. And then up to the Icefields Parkway and get to see the Ice Explorer on the Athabasca Glacier. So a wonderful program, 7 days and 6 nights. And this is Head Smashed in Buffalo Jump. It's a visitor center as well as a wonderful World Heritage site where the Native Americans used to hunt buffalo off the edge of this cliff. Now, they only hunted enough to provide food for their families, as well as utilizing every single component of the buffalo for clothing and different materials, so nothing went to waste. They kept the buffalo herd population stable in the process of doing that, and it is just a magical setting, really impressive place to visit, so we'll incorporate that on this tour. We also take these beautiful restored 1930s jammer cars on the Going to the Sun Highway, getting to see these beautiful mountain peaks, the forested areas below it, as well as the incredible lakes. And we wrap up at Lake McDonald and get to enjoy lunch on your own at the beautiful lodge there. And then, of course, Glacier National Park and its tremendous diversity of wildlife. So you have mountain goats, bears, as well as wolves, but just a stunning setting all around. The next trip we offer is Nova Scotia and the Canadian Maritimes, getting out to the east, far east of Canada. And this is a tremendous experience because it's got one of the most beautiful stretches of drives you'll ever get to see. We'll start out by flying into Halifax. We'll spend the first night out near the airport because we do generally tend to arrive later in the evening on that first night. And then it's off to Badek, and that's where we spend 2 nights, get to work our way over to Brody-Orr Lake, and this means Arms of Gold. So it's a beautiful saltwater lake, and that's a great resort area that we get to see. We then start a journey along the Cabot Trail, but first we also incorporate the Alexander Graham Bell National Museum. And this is a highlight for folks as they always come back and include that in their evaluations as one of the top sites they saw on the trip. So not only do you learn about the main inventions that everybody knows about with Alexander Graham Bell, but some really unique aspects to what he's created. And this was an area that was very familiar to him as this part of Nova Scotia looks a lot like Scotland, where he's from. We'll continue on the Cabot Trail, and this is a spectacular scenic stretch that winds its way around the highlands as well along the coastline, and it is just gorgeous. We'll stop at some of these beautiful little fishing villages like Chetty Camp and learn about their hooked rugs and the many different sea life animals that they have out there. This is also a great experience to enjoy some lobster along the way. So we'll stop for lunch in many different areas where you'll get a chance to try lobster rolls, but we also include a lobster dinner in our time in PEI, Prince Edward Island, and Charlottetown. So we spend 2 nights there. We'll also incorporate a visit out to Moncton and New Brunswick, and we'll go down to the Hopewell Rocks, and this is the Bay of Fundy. You'll see the picture down in the bottom right corner, and this is an amazing setting with these pillars out in the water, carved away by erosion from the ocean. It's one of the highest tides you'll see in the world, and it also has these pillars that sit about 40 to 70 feet above the ground, and so it's a really unique aspect, especially when the tide is out, to get to take that in. We'll learn about the story of Anne of Green Gables and get to see the farm and barn there, as well going to Lunenburg. That's a UNESCO World Heritage Site and a true town of colonial Britain. So really amazing site to take that in with a local guide. Then we come back into Halifax at the end for our last 2 nights. We'll do a city tour, and that is an absolutely beautiful setting. This is a 9-day trip. We incorporate 12 meals, and we have 4 different departure dates. So 1 for each month through the summer: June, July, August, and September. That June 19th is already guaranteed and filling up, as are the other dates. So please do not wait on this tour and all of our Canadian programs, because things are filling up. So this is just one image of the beautiful Cabot Trail. It's an amazing drive through the hills in the Highlands National Park, but just incredible scenery all around. Getting into Prince Edward Island, on the right is Spinnaker's Landing. Spinnakers on a sailboat are very colorful, and that's why all these buildings are colorful and true to that form. Great little shops and restaurants in Spinnaker's Landing, so that's a fun stop as well. And then the beautiful lighthouses all along the coastline. Getting into Halifax is a major city, a great harbor town, and lots of great shopping and restaurants within that. We'll also work our way up to the Citadel, and that is a star-shaped fort that's protected the harbor since the 1800s. So amazing sights in Halifax on our city tour, as well as some leisure time before we do our farewell dinner. Our Canadian Rockies Unpack Once tour is a really great value, a wonderful experience to take this in. And this trip flies into Calgary, and it's about a 90-minute to 2-hour drive up to Banff from there. And that's where we spend 5 nights in one hotel. So you get to unpack your suitcase, settle in, and enjoy the experience. Within Banff, our hotels, like I mentioned before, are well located, generally right on Banff Avenue. We use the Ptarmigan Inn, the Caribou Lodge, as well a couple of other properties, and very good access within town. From Banff, we'll also get a chance to go out to the beautiful lakes of the Canadian Rockies. We'll get to see Lake Louise, and we also incorporate lunch at Chateau Lake Louise, which is a gorgeous Fairmont property. We'll go out to Yoho National Park and get to see the Natural Bridge, as well working our way out to Emerald Lake and Peyto Lake, as well as Moraine Lake with the Valley of the 10 Peaks in the backdrop. A highlight for a lot of folks is going up on the Columbia ice fields on the Parkway, similar to the Cabot Trail in that it is one of the most scenic places in all of North America. So it's a big, amazing stretch of about 200 kilometers out through the ice fields. And this trip comes back into Banff at the end, getting up to Sulphur Mountain. We do a Banff area tour, and up on Sulphur Mountain sits about 8,500 feet, looking out over the Bow Valley. So this one departs July 27th, which is a guaranteed departure. September 24th still has space as well, but the August 17th and September 7th dates have sold out. So this is a great 6-day tour with 8 meals included. And here is Mount Rundle in the backdrop. This sits over 9,500 feet above sea level. So beautiful stretch with the lake in the backdrop there. And then Chateau Lake Louise sitting right on the lake itself. We'll have lunch in the main dining room there, looking out over the lake and the beautiful glacial waters. And then the Ice Fields Parkway, the Ice Explorer, takes us up on the Athabasca Glacier. And this glacier sits about 1,000 feet thick. It's an amazing experience to get out and taste fresh glacial water. And people absolutely love this experience, getting to see one of the many glaciers out on the ice fields. So this one, as I mentioned, 2 departure dates left, July 27th and September 24th. Now, Canadian Rockies Rail Journey is a really unique program incorporating the Via Rail train. And this one takes us overnight from Vancouver up to Jasper. Now, we start with 2 nights in Vancouver, out in the west in British Columbia. And so there's a great tradition of British supplies, British treats in that area. And one of the unique aspects that we incorporate is a day trip out to Vancouver Island and seeing the city of Victoria, the beautiful town itself, and all the flower pots hanging. It's a very similar British style city. And then from there, we go out to Butchart Gardens. And this is just a tremendous landscape garden that goes on and on. It's an amazing site that we'll experience. There's many different parts of the garden there. And then we board the Via Rail train in Vancouver and spend a night on the train in Sleeper Plus cars. So it's a great opportunity to spend a night on the train, get to see all these beautiful settings, including the North Thompson River, where a lot of those great salmon are caught. And arriving up in the Jasper area, we spend one night up in that region and also incorporate Malign Lake. Now, as we work our way towards Banff, we spend 3 nights in Banff. We incorporate Moraine Lake, a visit to Chateau Lake Louise, as well as that Athabasca Glacier experience. So there's one program that goes westbound, that's July 19th, and that goes Calgary to Vancouver. The other dates go eastbound, Vancouver to Calgary. So it just depends on availability for you and for us, being able to get the train at certain times, and these do sell out. July 30th has already sold out, but we do have 3 great departure dates, 2 of which are guaranteed. And this is the stunning Butchart Gardens with its amazing fountain. As at the far end of the gardens itself, there's a rose garden as well a Japanese garden. So many different components and a tea house, which is fun as well. But great little shop in there also. And then the Via Rail train taking us from Vancouver out overnight. We have Sleeper Plus cars, meaning bunks in a cabin. So that's also our seating area, which the bunks fold down and you get to enjoy the ride from there. Great meals on board the train as well. And then this takes us out into the Canadian Rockies. And one of the amazing sights throughout this region is Yoho National Park. Number of stunning lakes and the beautiful mountains as well. So lots of great wildlife throughout this journey. So July 19th going westbound is a guaranteed departure, as is September 10th. And then our October 1st departure was recently added as well. Now, if you book a new 2025 tour or European river cruise by Friday, February 28th, we are reducing the deposit. Generally, our deposit is between $400 and $600, $400 domestic or $600 internationally. For any tour or European river cruise, our deposit will be $299, but you must purchase travel protection with that deposit. Now, for any of our 5 Canadian tours that I mentioned today, we're doing this one-time offer of $199 deposit up until next Friday. And again, you must purchase your travel insurance with that deposit for that to apply. And last but not least, our 1 cabin category upgrade. And that can save you between $200 and $400 per person. And what that means is you would book a lower category on any of our European river cruises, and you're automatically upgraded to the category above it. And so that's generally better space in the cabin, better location on the ship, as well just an overall great experience. So really recommend generally people booking category C or B and being upgraded from there. And you must use the savings code CanadaA by next Friday, February 28th, for these discounts on the deposits, as well as that category upgrade to apply. So please don't wait. These trips have been filling up and Canada is limited in terms of the amount of space we can get in the hotels. It's the most popular time of year to go to Canada, is the peak of the summer. And so these hotels do fill up, and our trips do fill up as well. To make a reservation, you can call our 1-800 number, 369-3693. You can speak with Joe, Holly, April, or Sam to get your booking all squared away, and they'll help answer any questions you do have. You can also email Joe, Holly, April, or Samantha at afctours.com. Those are their email addresses, or visit our website at afcvacations.com for more details. We really appreciate you joining us today on the show. It's been a wonderful opportunity to talk about some great Canadian programs. And even though they're brief, I hope it helps to give a great insight into this fantastic destination, and especially for the summertime. Now, a unique aspect I did want to mention before we finish is that we are releasing 2 great programs in Canada towards the end of the year. And I'll go more into specifics later. But we do have our holiday season and 2 great programs. One is out to Montreal and Quebec for the Christmas markets, and the other is a brand new released tour in the next brochure, and that is Victoria and Vancouver for the Christmas season. Now, that also goes to Bouchard Gardens during the holidays when they have all of the gardens decorated and lit up. So I highly recommend these programs. They'll be released shortly, and we look forward to having you travel with us. From all of us at AFC, thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to having you join.